gather.
Yeah. Well, what I've done is I've just prepared, I just have a
You
couple
need
of
to bring
options.
this close to you.
I just have something here to maybe get another starting, or get to some, I shouldn't say starting point, ending point here. Of just presenting a couple of options that you guys can talk about, switch up and down, whatever way you want, but it might give us a grounded position. Okay, so like option
This
one.
is a great start. Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Option two.
Option one, but if we looked at option one, option one's basically the budget that you guys have had, okay? That, and what option one includes, there's salaries at the $2 per hour. You were giving an increase of $2 an hour plus 4% of the current. In the highway, it was $5 an hour increase. This option one has a 25% of the platinum plan employee contribution, okay? It's using balance from the general or the highway. Sorry, you guys got handwritten, but I ran out of time. And
It's fine.
and I was thinking so fast, I was ready. Okay, and then using the only thing that was used is the fund balance in the water fund, which they'd already talked about why they did that. It resulted in a levy increase of 9.885%, or an increase of $215,058. That option is over the tax cap by $143,587.
Before you go on, or the highway, I thought we're going to include a $4 an hour increase plus the difference in the health insurance.
No, because remember you and I were talking about it, that $4 might have been like a net,
Yes.
but we wanted to give them $5 an hour of their gross pay minus 25% of their health insurance. So that we just did those just straightforward that way, $5. And then I had given, oh, and I didn't bring that. Yes, I did. Then in this information that I emailed you guys, yeah, I showed you what that would mean per man if they got their $5 an hour, and what that would really mean based on a 12% or a 25% contribution.
Yeah.
But it wasn't including any. When you and I had talked, that remember we were really talking about the same thing, that $4, but you were talking about it net health insurance right off the bat. This is simply a $5 per hour increase in their gross pay, and then showing what that would look like using 12% or 25%.
Yeah, so you're reducing the $5 by what the contribution would
That's
be
right.
at 12%.
That's right, and
that was not my intention from the get-go. My intention was to have, well, $1 of it be included in it, if you will. So it'd be a $4 an hour real increase. But it was my understanding that the difference between $5 an hour net and $5 an hour subtracting out the health insurance was something like $1 or something. But it was more than that. As you showed in your thing, if it at 25%, it takes out $3 and something or other. So you only end up with a couple dollars more instead of $5.
Right.
Well, that's not what they're looking for, and I don't think it's what we can that I can sell that either.
Well, what they're looking for, based on what I've heard, is they would just like to see a $5 an hour increase in their base pay, and they would go up to 12% of the health insurance contribution.
Okay, so that's what I used as a figure. So if you figure that out, so that they go from 6% to 12%, that difference was what, $1.20 something, or was it $2?
No, I don't know. I don't figure it that way. I'm sorry.
I know you don't figure it that way, but that's how I was thinking of it. Okay, so any in terms of the budgetary impact, it was that's what we're talking. It's $5, but the $5 is reduced by the difference between 6% and 12%.
Right.
The difference between 6% and 12% was something like $1.22, something like
I'm
that.
sure exactly.
But that's not accurate anyway, because you totally excluded what happens when you increase the base pay. You increase also the town cost for Social Security, and
No, you don't.
yes, you do.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Laura checked.
You
Cause-
do,
cause
I'll
it-
tell
cause it
you,
raised
what
the
I
point.
did look
No,
at,
you don't.
And the
What I did look-
employee version of it as well.
I did look at that today, and yes, it does increase the employee portion of FICA and Medicare, but it doesn't do, what we do is we match it.
I know.
But the health insurance is pre-tax against Medicare and Social Security, and I didn't realize that. I did look at, do the pre-tax on health. We use pre-tax, and that includes Social Security and Medicare, and I was not aware of that at the time. I'm sorry, guys, when I've been.
So that was my
analyzing
understanding.
everything.
Okay.
Which is, it's neutral to us.
I'm looking at this option one and a 9.885% levy. As far as I'm concerned, that's a non-starter. I want to go look at option two.
But I can tell you then what I had for option two.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah.
If you want, just to get.
So just
and-
to be clear on this point, though, the, what I was, and I think it was built in, is that difference. So that we're looking at, if we went from 6% to 12%, it would cost us, well, it would cost us $5 an hour, is what it would cost us, a real increase. It would be, for them, it was an increase of closer to $4 an hour, because when you net it out, because their contribution was increased.
No, when you look at it, where would I do? I even have that one here. For the highway, I had right here, here it is, right here. If you gave a $5 an hour increase,
Yeah, I had that figured out.
okay, a $5 an hour increase. Then if you had a 12%, after their $5 an hour, take their gross, give them $5 an hour more.
Right?
Then you take out 12% for health insurance.
Right?
Their actual increase in their pay
But subtract 6% that they're already paying.
is $3.52.
Yeah, but subtract the three.
Okay,
You have,
I'd have to go back.
They're already
through.
paying
I'm
half of
getting-
that.
I'm going with this.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's half of $3.50.
Yep, you're right. It would be more like $4. It would be more like $4 is what they're really getting.
Yeah,
They're really getting $4 an hour. I don't have that other 6% in here. It would be $4 an hour. Yes. And at 25%, they're gonna get an actual like $2.40.
Well, yeah, but
raise.
but the point is that we, whatever percentage increase we go beyond the 12% was going to be on top of that. In other words, we're going to give them the $4, and then it could be whether it's 12% or 25% or 50% or 100%.
I didn't get
It didn't
that
make
from you,
any
Joel.
difference to the budget because it's moving money from one side of the ledger to the other side.
I mean,
of
and
the
we
ledger.
can figure it that way. We
Well,
can
that's how
figure
I'm-
it that way, and we can do it that way.
Right.
That it's,
Well,
I
because
think what
what's important to us here is to have the budget have the money in it to make whatever changes we're going to make. And my point with this whole business with the health insurance is that it's revenue neutral to us, whether the employee pays 25%, if we fund it. In other words, now we're paying equivalent of $12 an hour to each employee for their health insurance. But it doesn't show up as their salary line because it's employer
That's the
supply.
way they always work.
So what you guys would have to
But if you
determine,
move it,
do you want the salary amounts to be large and the health insurance paid by the town lower? Or do you want to have the health insurance paid by the town higher and the salaries lower?
I like the $5 an hour and 11%. going up to 12%.
So it does end up to be about the same,
Right.
Either way, in the way that we gave the raises and the way, it ended up to be like a $1,600 difference. And that's because I say that 1,600, it's really not pertinent because in the option 2, I went down on the amount given like to the part-timers.
Yes.
Instead, in this option 2, let me explain option
Yes,
2.
I
I
understand, which I was not.
understand what you're saying, Joel.
Yeah.
And I think that that the way it comes out in the end, it's going to be about the same. You just have to decide, do you want the salaries higher and the amount of health insurance lower? Or do you want the health insurance higher and the salaries lower?
Yeah,
That's
and
what
I
it's
would
gonna
say that
come out
that's
to be.
not something we necessarily have to decide as part of the budget process, because we can adjust at any point, because it's not going to affect the budget.
But you want to have something kind of true to the
Yes,
budget.
it should be,
what you
it should
wanna-
be accurate.
of
When
what
we
you
vote
wanna
in the
turn
budget,
in
it
for
can't be
your
crap.
budget, whether you want your salaries or your.
And I,
Or your health
my
insurance.
personal preference is the $5 an hour and the 12%. I think when we're looking at changing something for employees, going from 6% to 25% is a huge jump at one time and unfair and unreasonable. 6% to 12% is a good change.
We're not costing them any.
I'm
Different.
saying that it's better to do it a small jump and change than it is to be a huge jump and change over one period of time. My preference is $5 an hour and 12%.
And it's not mine.
Okay, but
Okay.
Joel, there are others of us here, and
Yes,
we
I
are
know.
also
Yeah.
concerned about the issue, how this appears, and the reason to do it and show it in the budget is because we're gonna have a public hearing. It's upfront, and it needs to be so that when we present this to the town, and the employees, everybody knows what we're doing, and it doesn't look bad, like we did it with half the
Fishy.
budget, and then we'll do it. That doesn't feel right to me.
Well, I mean, the employees are very much aware of what's going on, because we talked about this
Yeah,
since
but
the budget process in
taxpayers-
August.
There are taxpayers'
Yeah, the
money,
budget isn't just, the budget goes to everybody in the town, not just the,
right?
Well, we have to explain it, of course.
I would like to move that we, in the budget, put 12% for employee contribution to the health insurance.
Instead of the 25 that's in
Instead
the.
Correct.
Oh, option 2.
Option 2,
Want me to
option,
explain what I
Yeah.
did with option 2?
that's what I'm recommending.
Notice I used in that explanation salaries of 3%, and we're not talking about highway right now. With
And
highway, we
overall.
left it at 5.
Yes.
The highway, we left it at 5 and 12%. So that was
5 per hour?
5 per hour,
hour.
and that's the
Yes.
12%. But now
Which
in
is
the
about,
others,
which is about 20%.
but now with the others, okay, notice they wrote 3% overall increase. So in other words, we would take someone's salary and subtract, say in 2022, I've got some figures here to show you. In 2022, take out the amount that they've been putting in for health insurance, and then take the new amount for 12%, and then figuring what they would have to get to cover that extra 6% and have a 3% overall increase
Okay,
in their compensation. So that's where I came up with the salaries.
and I assume that's this chart here where it has,
Yes,
okay.
it's that chart there.
That's
And
what I
then
thought.
the part-timers, any of the part-timers and anybody else who gets paid, and the court, these are people who have salaries, maybe not any specific hours, that type of thing. Just a 3% raise. So it was just a straight 3%. Now, I put that in there because in the last meeting, you guys were saying we'd like to see what it looks like at 2%, 3%, and 4%. So I did a little analysis on the right side of that one paper.
Yeah, and it shows
That
us
one
2, 3, and
chart
4.
that shows, that's the analysis at 3%. So that gives you an idea up, down, gives you a median point. But doing that with the health insurance contribution of 12%, and then I put in some other things. Pat had asked me to show her what it would look like, what we would have to do to have a levy increase of around 7%, 7 to 8%. So I just went in and I said, okay, let's use the fund balance, 20,000 for the general, 20,000 for the highway. That is not uncommon for us to do that. The water's using 16,964, and that would bring us to, and we all $5,000 in the highway. And also the board members had all told me that they don't want an increase in the next year, so I took that out as well, okay? And so the.
Every 2 years in a row with no increase?
Yeah,
Our preference, not yours.
so there's a levy increase in this option two of 7.938% over the tax cap by 101,222. So that's what these two options look like. It just is giving you guys a place to go, but keep in mind too, there's no changes in this. So you know, and then a little information, every $10,000 that you increase the levy or decrease the levy, for every $10,000, okay?
0.5%?
The change is about 0.5% in it. So for every 10,000 increase or decrease, it's about, it'll change your tax rate by 0.4%, the
Tax
actual
rate?
tax rate by 0.4%.
It changes the,
And also the amount per thousand of assessment. So for every 10,000, say you went down another 10,000, you would be saving $2.06, the taxpayer $2.60 per $100,000 of assessment.
And
So-
how does that affect the levy increase here with 7.938%? I'd like to see that lower if possible.
It would change it by, every 10,000 will lower it by 0.5%, approximately 0.5%.
yeah, which is to say $20,000 changes to 1% change in the levy.
Yeah, that's a good, yes, Joel, thanks. Maybe that's easier. Every $20,000 would be a 1% change in this levy. So option two, we used some fund balance. We went down on a couple things. We did a straight 3% increase. And then
there's one more
those who have got health insurance.
There's one more figure that might be helpful to bring to bear, which is to say per $100,000, what would a $10,000 increase in the levy mean
For 100,000,
for 100,000?
it is $2.60
Okay,
for every 10,000,
Oh, for every 10,000,
for every 10,000.
which is to say it's what, 21 cents per thousand?
I guess you could, I guess. I haven't figured that out, but
Can you just say that in a few?
26 cents per thousand. It would be 26 cents per thousand.
Yeah.
26 cents. So for every $1,000, you go up or down, it's 26 cents. For every 10,000, or
For every 10,000 increase?
1,000.
In the,
Yeah.
that,
Well, it's 26 cents, but it's $2.60
$2.60.
for every 10,000.
so for every 1,000, it'd be 26 cents. Every 1,000, give or take one away. So if you,
And for
Wanna
every,
go-
for
yeah.
every 100,000, it's $26.
right,
In other words, a 1% change in the levy costs the taxpayers $26 per $100,000 of their valuation.
But that's not how it will be evaluated this year.
okay, so
With the tax changes that people got, that will make a difference in many people's, dramatic difference in many people's cases. We need to be very, very conscious of that this year.
Well, it depends on what happened to the evaluation, but
That's what will happen.
But that's why I wanted to take it independent of what changed for anybody. Per $100,000 of your current valuation, whatever that is, a $10,000 increase in our levy translates into $26 more that they would pay than they would pay otherwise.
so to try to explain to a resident how much their tax would go up, we can't.
It's pretty complicated because it
Yeah.
depends on what happened to their assessment.
If the assessment, and because the assessment changed this year, and because they changed so dramatically.
For
this
some
year.
people they did, that's the
They
thing.
changed dramatically by a huge number of people that I've heard from.
The average increase,
Because of that, the average increase doesn't matter. If
Right.
you're ahead of the average, it doesn't.
well, no, I mean,
matter.
obviously half the people.
We have to be
got-
concerned about the people, not average numbers. The people are important now, not numbers.
Yes, they are, and some people are
But that's
more
what
affected than others.
I do want to look at this to see if, I'm This is very good. Thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
I
I hope it
appreciate it.
helps you guys.
But I do want to wonder, I know this is maybe unfair, but whether there are any other changes that could reduce it even more.
And that's it. I mean, you can start going through the budget,
Yeah. Okay.
taking a look at a few
Yeah.
things.
Okay,
If you wanted to go up on the amount of the fund balance that you wanted to use to balance the budget.
So we need a fund balance analysis really to know where we stand and whether we
I
be
know, and
depleting the
I
fund
know,
balance
and
more.
I have it
right.
for this year. Well, I don't have an exact number for you that I can put you on right now.
Right.
Of where where we're expecting at the end of the year. All I can say is we're doing well, and I know that doesn't help, but I am anticipating that we're gonna be adding to the fund balance in both the highway and the general this year.
Okay,
Because in the previous years, had a lot going out in this Brown Road project
Yeah,
of our out-of-pocket money
yeah.
that affected that. I can tell you that I had some.
That was off budget too.
I'm sorry, what was that, Joel?
That was off budget too.
That was off budget also, yeah.
So that was in addition to the
Right.
appropriated fund balance, which to balance the budget last year.
Right. I've gone down through here. I have figures up to 2019. I wanted to put this, I just ran out of time, guys.
Mhm.
2019 here, here, where it shows a history of the
Yeah.
years where we increased and decreased the fund balance. Not in the budget, but in actual figures.
Yeah.
In actual figures at the end of the year.
Right.
I can tell you that in the general fund, we had, it's 1 year, we increased the fund balance by $57,000. Another year it was $22,000. We also decreased in some years, 1 year by 27, another year by 154. That's because we were doing extra projects and extra things that we didn't budget for, but we were using some fund balance because we had so much of it.
okay.
We had so much of it and we wanted to do some extra projects, so we did use that. But for this year, I mean,
As I recall, the fund balance has been declining for what, 3 years running?
it's been declining. It declined
Yeah.
in 2018 and in 2019. 2020, I was just looking at it in 2021. So it's been going down. It's been going down. the
That's
fund
what was,
balance
that's what
has.
was.
We,
has been
at one
up
time, we had
concerning
a
to
huge
me.
fund, right, at one time, we had a huge fund balance in the highway fund.
Yeah,
So we started using
more.
that
Yeah,
in the purchase of
Right.
things that we needed to do to
Right.
get that back down, because
right.
every year we were adding so much to it.
Not reasonable. Yeah.
So then we started to use more of it. Now I have to say in 2016 and 2017, the DA fund, 1 year we had a $279,000 increase in the fund balance. Another year, 106,000. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So those are some increases. Yeah, and in other years we've had decreases. So it's really, I guess what we're looking at is where are we really going to stand with those?
Yeah,
I can tell you that right now we have a fund balance in our general fund of about $450,000. And that does not include the ARPA money or anything, about $450,000. In the highway fund, it's a bit less. We're looking at a fund balance of maybe about, $150,000, somewhere in there. But we're doing so great this year. I'm anticipating that is going to go up at the end of this year. That I can tell you.
okay. And it's looking like, it's looking like overall, when you do the budgets, we're under
Under what?
budget amounts a lot this year.
Not a lot.
Not a lot, but well, we are in our mechanics line. Our mechanics line's doing really good. I don't know, and some of our salary lines for our winter salary lines, they're looking really, really good for this year too. We've got a lot of salt in our salt shed. Do I
Yeah.
anticipate we're gonna buy some more? But we've got about $45,000 or $50,000 in there, and our miscellaneous money.
But that
Buy
has to
salt
pay
and
for
sand.
that has to pay for the fuel to run the trucks
Well,
around.
it's gotta pay for fuel and it's gotta pay for,
Yeah.
yes, it does. I'm not saying that
We're-
it's gonna
we're-
sit there, but we
we're-
have
That's
2
what you,
months
that's
left of the
what, that's
year.
what the budget includes, next year's
We have
cost
2
for those
months
things.
left of the year. I'll tell you something
Yeah, but
else
I mean,
too.
starting in January.
So, and I'd like Can we,
someday to get a copy of what the fund
Gotcha.
yeah,
balance is.
can we increase the amount from the reserve? It doesn't seem like we should be, under the circumstances with this much of an increase, we shouldn't be asking the town taxpayers for this much, if that's much money in reserve. What happens if we increase it?
If you increase it, then the levy will go down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, of course. it's
How
a
far,
benefit, it's
can we
great.
get it below 7?
We would have to go down another, oh, where's my,
Well, we just said, it's about $20,000 per,
right, so
Percent.
we'd have to go down,
another 40,000.
10,000 would be a half. We'd have to go down about another 20,000 somewhere
Oh, that's
to
not-
get it down to an 8.
and if
Because we're
our
at
fund-
7.9 now, and every 10,000 is a 0.5%.
Yeah.
So you'd have to go down maybe 18,000, somewhere in that neighborhood to get it to about a 7.
And your fund balance for the general fund was, you said, in the neighborhood of 450,000.
Yeah, we have money in our
So
general
I think we
fund.
should certainly double the amount from that and put that as 40,000, bring it down.
Use 40,000.
Yeah,
I don't,
I'm probably not.
I'm not sure I agree.
Without more.
with 450,000 in the fund balance, we don't need to save $450,000.
Well, I mean, it raises a philosophical question, and it just, I've been on to training sessions with the controller's office, and everybody always asks, what's a reasonable fund balance to have on hand?
Right,
And the answer is, it depends.
right.
They're not willing to say, but something reasonable, so that if you have an
Do we have an idea?
unanticipated emergency of some sort, you're not stuck with no money.
We
Deal with
recently paid for the, we've had the building painted and the roof was
You
redone.
remember the percentage.
So those things are not, unless there's
Yeah,
a
'cause we have a
disaster.
reason.
Well, yeah, it's a disaster that you worry about.
I know, but,
Yeah, for a while, we had way too, we
Right.
had a lot in our fund
Yeah.
balance,
right,
especially in highway
Yeah.
at one time. Now highway's far below general,
Right.
but,
Yeah, I wouldn't,
I mean,
since general is
It's like
at
a
450
savings
and the
bank for
highway is
emergencies,
130.
That's the only thing.
It seems like we want to take more out of the general.
I mean, that's an option. If,
what
if,
about, you said 40, what about 25? I mean, I'm just trying, I'm just.
No,
Well, it's
asking
already
a
20.
question.
I'm
What?
It's
saying
already
going
20,
from
she's saying to add more.
20 more.
Okay.
It's
Oh, you're
al-
gonna
it's
add it,
already
right, okay.
20,000 out,
Yeah.
another, that would
And-
still leave us with $430,000
That's an option.
in the fund
Yeah.
balance.
If Joel, I don't know who Joel is gonna appoint deputy supervisor next year, but, that's close to 33,100 that we could, that if it were me, I would give that up. I don't know if it were anybody else, if they'd give that up, but
I remember Matt did it one year.
Matt did it when he.
Matt did.
Yeah, he did. Matt gave it up.
Yeah.
When people were stressed by
Right,
COVID.
right.
I don't think it's a good
Well,
precedent.
It's up-
But I think if it's done specifically with that statement that this is because we're trying to we're caring about the town, that's a different thing. But if precedent wise, people should be paid for the work they're doing.
I mean, I'm also in the back of my mind wanting to add something for website.
Right, I
and-
got
and
you.
Newsletter.
Yep.
And I, in my old notes, I was like, donate to newsletters.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable thing because
Yeah.
we are in many transitions. So, I can support your offer. And if I'm certainly not going to be the deputy clerk, so.
I don't
You might
understand.
like to change every year.
I think it would be good to do that. Unfortunately, I don't think this is the year to do it in. The town, we're looking at all the town people, and we're looking at cost of everything for everybody that lives in the town. Inflation affects everybody that lives in the town. Going up from raising taxes 7%, 7% is unfair.
Okay, but I'm
I
not
don't
sure
know.
that you two are talking about the same thing. So I didn't get that.
If you add money to the budget, I'm talking about if you add money to
No,
the budget
no.
for all of those
When
things.
Leslie was talking about the deputy supervisor salary. and
Use that
she's-
for something else.
Right, And so that because we do want to try and look at somebody for a website and the newsletter, such those ideas, and that she's suggesting that is a possibility for that money. And that money, that deputy supervisor money is already in the budget,
Yeah, right.
reallocating it for this
I mean, it's
year.
not a lot, but
No,
I mean,
it's not
yeah,
$3,000.
it's not a
Yeah.
lot, no.
didn't even last an hour. The, town tax is not a big part of what people's tax burden is.
Right.
You know, we're talking about, I mean, the overall tax rate is what, a little over $6?
You're comparing us with, you're comparing it because of the county tax. I understand that, but the county people, the people in the town aren't looking at the county.
That's exactly right.
They're after, they're saying, what do you, our town? do?"
Exactly right.
Yeah, well, what our town is, you know, our town tax is about $6 and change per what, Laura, is that per,
I'm so sorry, I was looking at something else to come up with
the
money.
tax rate analysis, which I don't have in front of me,
Yeah,
is,
actually you do in your packet.
do I?
You have a tax rate analysis. Look on option 2. Look in there, you'll see a tax rate analysis. Can I ask you one quick question while you're looking, Joel? Did you know our aims, our AIM money, our
Yeah.
state aid? Have you heard, are we gonna get that next year?
I didn't think there was anything in there for AIM anywhere, but,
What?
No, I'm asking you,
The 300,000.
are they,
Oh, that's
no,
ARPA.
that $14,500 that we usually get for state aid?
Mhm.
We didn't budget for it last year, but we did get it. Have you heard anything in your council of governments? Are they going to be giving that again this
I
year?
haven't heard anything,
They haven't denied it to us at all. They've always talked about they weren't gonna do it,
yeah.
and therefore we didn't
What kind
budget
of-
for it.
That's state aid.
That's
or-
state aid. But I'm just wondering, are they gonna be, if you've heard anything, are they gonna be giving state aid in 2023?
I haven't heard, but it doesn't matter.
Wow, that would take care of
That
newsletter
would,
and.
that would put in, we could put in, that amount. I also I've been writing some things down as I was looking at it.
You can't
One
put
of
it
the
in if
other
you don't
things we
know.
could do is we have 15,000 that we were gonna set aside for the solar. You could come down to 10, and then as we go into the next year and we look at our fund balance, we can decide, you can decide how much you want to start that reserve for to buy it. Okay, because you know you're gonna, I mean, that was the intention to do,
Right.
to start it with some of that money.
Didn't
We
We're
could
talking
take
about
that,
depleting the fund
isn't-
balance even more.
Isn't
I
there,
know,
isn't
I
there
know.
$5,000 already in there from this year's budget? Wasn't there
there's
money?
15 this year, so.
No, no, for last,
Oh, last 10,
current year.
10.
10 for this year?
In 2022. we
2022,
had-
that's what my, yeah,
Yes,
but there was 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
yes, there was 10,000.
Okay,
So
so that
this year we
seems,
put in 15,000.
right, now that seems reasonable to drop that down to 10.
If we drop that down to 10, and then that would be, there'd be 5, and then Leslie was talking
What
about
number is that?
her amount. If you look on A 9962.4, that's 3,084 there, okay? If we put in some money for state aid, okay? Usually we get about 14.5 in our state aid. And like I say, I've always just heard little talk that they might get rid of it or whatever, and that's why in the last couple of years, we have not budgeted for it, but we've got it. We get our state aid every year, 14.5, $14,590. I'm pretty sure that's what we used to get for state aid. And we've gotten that check. I don't have anything in this, but we don't have anything in this budget right now for that, just with the premise or the thought that we might not get it. So if you want to take a chance that we're gonna get it, I can't imagine them not giving it to towns.
I can't say that,
And-
I can't say that we are or
And
not.
if we already got it, if it wasn't budgeted last year, but we got it, then I'm perfectly happy putting basically that last year's money in this year's budget.
And see where it's going.
Right.
Well, I mean, it goes with the fund balance. If-
Yeah.
But we need to
Yeah.
not have it in the fund balance. It should go into the current balance, it should go into the budget here and
So it's
reduce
14.5.
what we charge,
Yeah, to be
what we
used.
charge taxpayers. Yeah, that's a great idea.
So
Thank
I'm
you.
up
Thank
to
you.
right there in the 5,000, the 3,000, 84, that was what Leslie had in
What's
there.
5,000?
The 5,000's coming down on the amount that we wanted to put away for the
Solar.
Solar, right.
and then putting in 14.5 of revenue
Mhm.
on the revenue side. We're up to 22,584. So you're looking at the 20,000, so you're looking at the 20,000 that you were looking for to get that down to 7%.
Okay.
That's there.
That
Okay,
helps.
that would,
But
that helps.
7% now, what do we do about
I
that?
know I can't see facial expressions, but I can see eyes.
That's
I
better.
can see eyes, and I see a set of eyes down there, the supervisor. As I'm looking at his eyes, and so
If you haven't been able to read it, I'm not happy with the way this is going.
I
know, I
can
know.
read it. That's why I'm looking at your eyes.
I'm not looking.
I'm trying to put the idea, I'm not making recommendations one way or another. I'm
No.
trying to put information for all of you to consider different things.
Yeah,
And
and we-
different theories.
And that's what I asked for. Thank you.
What was
Thank
there
you.
besides the newsletter and the website that we were wanting to add? Was there something else? Was there anything else?
The newsletter is already.
Well, the other
added.
thing we haven't dealt with is the clerk's request for an increase.
Clerk's
Yeah,
request
The
for
clerk's request for an
increase.
increase, and then the need to do something about our IT and security line.
The IT security, so.
We already, the 3% overall increase in salaries was overall everyone,
Yes,
everyone.
yeah, which was
Okay.
less than I recommended. You know,
But
we-
I gave that
You know,
as
we're
a,
giving highway,
Right.
as I see this, I'm talking, I mentioned this to Laura yesterday, we're trying to hold the overall increase to 8%, but we're gonna give the highway people a 20% increase in their compensation, and we're paying for it by giving our other workers only a 3% compensation. I don't see
And-
that as at all fair.
The major difference is that the salaries for the highway have been lower than everybody in the area. That is why we need to do a compensation for that. At some point, we have to do that compensation. It could have been done several years ago. It was not. That was why we do it now.
Well, I mean, what we compensate them is
one
determined by
point.
what's in the union contract, so, you know,
Right.
there was no,
We don't
even if we
know what that's
wanted to
gonna
give
be,
them more
right?
money, we couldn't.
We don't know what that's gonna be.
No, as I say, you know, from what I have heard and what I was planning on proposing, in fact, I did propose, you know, we're talking about a real increase of them, you know, at least $4 an hour.
Right, right.
Plus, if I can work it, you know, an increased contribution to the health insurance, which, as I keep pointing out, is revenue neutral to us. But that's a 20% increase for them, more or less. The inflation is running at 8%. Of course, it's a concern for everybody. Why should our workers be paid less than 8%? Because that's what it's costing them more too.
Because the same thing exists in the entire country, and we are not looking at everybody in the entire country getting 8% increases because of the
I know.
unusual rates that happen now.
Sure,
And the other point
only ever got
is,
2%
not only do we have to be
raises.
concerned about our employees, we have to be concerned about the entire tax base in the town, everybody in the town. They matter. They also have the same inflation issues. And if this goes up, the higher this goes up, the harder it is on them. And that's the entire town, all the residents here.
yeah,
We're not talking about a half a dozen people here. 1,500
Household.
households,
Households.
households.
yeah,
Right, some of those have more income than others.
yeah.
But that's the issue we're looking at. And that's the trade-off. And in this case, the trade-off seems to me, we're already looking at a high increase. We don't want to increase that even more. 7 point, now, Laura, what did we get it down? We got it down to less than 7 with the changes, right?
yeah, if you wanted to do another 20,
Yes.
knock off another 20 of this.
The fund balance.
I get too many sheets here.
I know. I can't find the right one.
Every $10,000 decrease is a 0.46. So if you went down 20,000, we've got a little bit more than 20,000. You're about down almost another percent. So you would be down to
Under 7.
You would be down to about 7, maybe a little under 7.
A little under,
A
yeah,
little
yeah.
under
I'm on-
7.
Under
with
is
that.
a little
Plus
under.
we found another 20%, 20.
Which we found in yours,
Where, oh,
the 14,000
okay.
and the
I thought you were
5,000 coming
picking another
down
20
in that.
something somewhere.
In
Okay.
that. So that's where the ranges stand. So you guys can decide where you want to go with that for all of these. I just wanted to get a median here. And I know there's also in the information technology and
Yeah.
Janice's requests that we haven't covered yet. Right.
Well, the 30% overall for everybody covers that request for salary. But we do need
mean
additional
3%,
funds.
don't you?
We do need additional funds in the security
IT
support
security.
system. And
IT
how much was that?
Around 6,000.
Around 6,000?
For what?
If we stay with the contract we have, the contract runs out in the end of the year.
Not just before then, isn't it?
I think it's December 1st.
6th or something? I think so.
I think it starts first, but whatever, it doesn't
May
matter.
I join in the IT discussion?
What, you can answer that question. Do you know offhand when the contract expires?
5 o'clock on
December 4th,
December, so I thought it was early December.
yeah, right.
Oh.
Not the end of the year. It's
No.
before then.
So we did have a conversation with them, and we don't have to make this decision because of the end of the contract, because they will continue to do the service that we want. We
Monthly.
just have to pay it at the non-contract rate. And that, because when I asked about extension, we have time to look at all of these options. We cannot make these decisions
No.
without our having time to really consider it. It's one thing for your thoughts about it, Janice, but we have to look at this from the point of view of what people are asking us about. Why are we spending this money this way?
Well, may I interject? May I respond?
Please let Catherine finish.
I thought she did finish.
No,
I didn't hear what you
let,
Pat said let
keep
you-
going. I
Oh.
know you had an amount of money and I want to know that.
Right, so the amounts of money that it would cost us to keep going at a non-contract rate, instead of, it's roughly $25 more an hour, so they come right now without the managed services, which I think we need,
Yeah.
but for the time being, the non-contract rate is roughly $100 versus $75.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
Did you confirm that with them?
yes.
Yeah.
And what about the extra security?
Yeah,
Well,
right.
we can't get that without a contract. That's the problem.
Okay.
So to get that, and that's why if we have just a bit more time, we have enough money to put in the budget so we can work on this.
Yeah.
And look at other companies with time.
Right. Oh, yeah, we're
We
not
have
talking about
time.
changing now, but we do need to put an amount in the
Right.
budget over what we have. So
the
how much?
reason-
We
the
need to
reason
have
I-
enough in the budget so that we can accommodate
Right,
whatever we
that's
end
what-
up
that's what
doing.
I'm
That's why
asking
you
for.
asked about the managed cost. So if
Yeah.
if the managed cost would cost us about $1,200 a year for that.
An additional 1,200, okay.
Yeah, so but that's not counting things like we should get a new server, which is about roughly 3,200. And we may need a few computers. They need to come in here and see what
Well,
computers
computers
are
were
what.
in the budget. There are computers already in the budget,
Right, I think that's what Joel.
That's right.
so we don't need to look at that.
Okay.
But it seems like we need to put a number in, so 1,200, 2,000, seems
Well-
like maybe $3,000 in addition?
That's probably not enough.
No,
It's,
no.
it's, I think if we
5,000?
went to 6, that would help
Add
us.
6,000?
Because if we don't spend it all, that's great. If we need more, then we have it.
Yeah, well, remember, we're adding 6,000. We just got the, we
I
just got
know,
this
but-
below 7%. Now we're getting above.
If you
7%.
added 6,000,
Yeah,
you could go and take, instead of 20 out of highway, you could do 23 out of fund balance.
Oh, great.
Instead of 20 out of general, you could go 23.
oh,
I
Thank
always
you.
say, I always
Oh,
say, what's
equal.
$3,000 amongst friends? But.
oh, okay. Oh, that's great. So I would
That's
suggest
something
adding
that you could
6,000 to
do.
that line and then doing 20, another 23 out of general, what, that general then would be 43 and 23 out of highway?
You're saying
So
add
3 out
six,
of general, 3 out of highway. add
In
that up,
addition,
that's
but we
6.
already took another 20,000 out of,
no, we didn't
No,
have
we
to.
didn't
We
do
did it,
that
we
other
found
one,
it in
okay.
other areas without having to go to the fund balance
She's
further.
trying to-
okay, so yeah, oh, perfect. Oh, cool.
I'm not as, frankly, I just have to say, I'm not as concerned that we make it under 7 or at 6. I mean, that part of it is not as big a deal to me. I know
Is it the rest of
it
the
is.
people in the town?
Well, I know, but if
I don't know that it's that big a deal for the people in the town.
I just want to say that for me is not the biggest part of this, but our responsible spending is a really big deal to me. And the idea that I don't want to see us shave away things that we really do need, and then we have to come back later and say, well, what, if we just took all that money off, because people won't like that either.
But that's what Laura is saying, going up $23,000 in
From the
general
fund
and
balance,
23,000
right,
highway.
as long
Yeah,
as
we're spending down our savings in order to
But
avoid
we're
having
spending
an
down
accident.
$450,000 by $23,000.
I mean, you do some, I mean, I know a lot of the fund balance is, you know, specifically should be for emergencies or things that you didn't count on. But it's also, you know, you have savings that you use when you need to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed
So-
to using
No,
some
okay.
measure of it. I would feel better if I had the analysis ahead of me to see what's the trend in our fund balance
Right.
and where are we, you know?
Okay, she's gonna get us that.
But because I think that, you know, we have been depleting the fund balance year over year over year.
I'm gonna send you guys out an email.
Yeah,
And let you know what my projection is at the end of the year, what's happening with that fund balance.
and
Okay.
give us
Oh,
the
thank
history
you.
thing. I've got it
I'll give
up,
you history.
I've
I've
got
got
it
it up through to 2019 here.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
need 2021 on
Yeah.
here.
Oh, thank
And
you, thank you.
that, so I'll do that right away and send it. You can see what's been going on with it
Yeah.
and get
But
you
I
an
feel more comfortable
estimated
if we weren't
number.
continuing a trend of
Yeah.
depleting.
It depends on whether you're depleting like 100,000 a year over 5, 6, 7 years, or 20,000 a year over 5
I
or
mean,
6
we may
years.
need to.
That's
spend
a
100 of it,
huge
you know.
difference in depletion.
And then in some years, you add to it.
Yes.
You add
Well,
back
we have,
into it.
like I say, it's been
And
years since
I'm thinking that's what's
Yeah.
gonna happen this year. Because we've had those other big expenses that have happened, like with Brown Road
Yeah,
and all of that, kind of behind us.
And how
With all
many
of
of
this.
the culverts, some of the big culverts are sort
Yeah,
of
but that was
behind
CHIPS
us.
money we used for that.
Those are CHIPS money.
Yeah.
Yes, we use some CHIPS money for that.
So that's fund balance.
so what about website newsletter?
Can,
What about-
can I, as your acting IT person, can I speak about the IT issue now?
That's some idea.
Yeah, I guess it's relevant at this point.
Okay, so I again cannot encourage you enough to not stay with SCT as a company that has let us down numerous times over the past year and resulted in a breach that we experienced on our server. I don't think that this is a rush decision. This has been a topic of discussion for over 2 years or about 2 years now. So it's not like this is a new thing that we have had issues with the company. So I don't see how this is a sudden rush job to get this switched over. Last year at this time, I was told we were on a contract with SCT through December of 2022, which was why we would not be leaving them this year. This year, they essentially dropped us without notification, without our request of them dropping us, after they had already told us, no, you can't drop us because we are in a contract. They essentially dropped us. So I think to the extent that this is not a new situation, we are not making any rush decisions or rash, reactions. I will say that I did speak to Zufall Communications, and that was the company that Sarah brought up when she was at the budget meeting the other week. They do not do what we need, but they did refer me to HPM Tech Services, I believe. They currently the village of Cayuga Heights to get their IT in order, and they also spoke with me about the IT audits that the OSC is doing, which Joel, you sent out that that audit for Ulysses, which is relevant. And the guy from HPM was very clear that they would work with us to make sure that we are in compliance with everything we need to be in compliance for the state security measures, and their monthly service estimate for a remote monitor and managed computer service, antivirus, network monitoring and patching. So it's very proactive rather than reactive. And then a server backup, all of that together is $330 as a rough estimate, which comes out to just under $4,000 a year. So if you are talking about something similar with SCT, I believe that this is a better proposal and a better company to go with. They are local and they already have experience working with a local small municipal government.
And that is good information that we will use when we make the decision, which is not part of the budget. But that's good to know because that $6,000 we just put in will cover that as well. So that's good to know. Thank you.
Right.
You're welcome.
Right, it's not really, there's no commitment here as part of the budget process to stay with the SCT. It's only, the process here is to make sure that we have enough money in the budget so that we can look at what the options are and make a decision. And staying with SCT is an interim measure. It may end up being an interim measure if we go to somebody else, but it's something we can do to ensure that we have some coverage until we make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
If we look at the A16 20.41 line,
A16,
okay, that's information technology, A16 20.41. There's already $7,300 in there,
Yes.
okay? Now, is that what you're thinking to be used for new computers? I know Janice, you had talked about something you might need a couple new computers in your office or
Yeah.
whatever.
If you
No,
want
no,
to
no.
talk the IT line, I can tell you what's in that IT line. If I can get my computer to work.
I can remember
I've got the
$3,000
same thing.
specifically being mentioned somewhere in the budget.
Yeah.
Was it there?
A16 20.41.
Yeah. Yeah, the budget, like right now, is at 7,300 for next year. And the budget this year was 7,300 and only 1922 spent.
For Jade.
Yeah,
The
10 months in.
The question was
central communication.
only where are the computers in the
That is for
budget?
the
Yes,
newsletter.
right.
So it's not separated
and-
out.
No. But in that category is office
It is.
computers.
All mode for the phones. Sorry, it's Mitel and all mode.
That's the phone, right?
The newsletter. And internet.
Okay, so not computers, not equipment.
That was
That should be in a contractual line someplace, shouldn't it?
That's
that
central
was a
communication.
1650.
She was just asking me, what's the
I wanted to
1650.4?
know what was in
So where is it? It's in
the next one, the 1650.4.
central communications.
Yeah,
And then I think exhibit B, wherever that is.
I know, and I don't have that in there. I'm sorry, guys.
Don't you have any?
But
Our
that's-
exhibit.
It's the same as the last,
But that's the same as the previous one.
it's not a
right?
change, right? It's the same as the last exhibit.
Same as the
Yeah,
last one. And
Yeah,
they had like
so if we just-
20,000 in it for the newsletter.
Right.
And I know, Pat, you were talking something about, it's 20,000.
The newsletter costs 15,000, a little under 15,000 is the actual cost of the printing and
So
the
we could
mailing.
pay somebody $5,000.
There's an extra $5,000 in there.
There's an extra $5,000 to pay. Okay.
The website, I mean, the
Newsletter.
newsletter,
And that just came up because Leslie was asking what's in that
I
line.
was just,
right?
I just couldn't.
So I have a more clear breakdown of the IT and the central communications that I've shared my screen for.
Oh,
IT should cover the email hosting, archiving, and cloud-based software, which year to date, I have us at just under 5,200. Internet at Town Hall and Highway is 4,400. Network and IT security so far has been 733. 30,000 was for the high-end, very good IT security. But if you wanted to bring that back down to 6,000, it would be like that. The hosting is $500 and the WordPress website is about $100. So the total IT so far this year has been just under 11,000, and next year with the increase in security, it would jump up to 18,600.
So you're including the internet in the town hall, right?
Information technology, yes, the phones and the all mode, which I'm not sure that we will get a continued bill from all mode. It's unclear to me, but the Mitel phones should be about $5,000 each year.
Janice, can you send that page out?
But the
Sure.
Mitel phones, Janice, I have that in central communication.
Yeah.
Yes, so do I. Mhm. Yeah,
Oh, okay, I thought we were just looking at the 1620.41 information technology.
Yeah, that's
line.
what we were looking at.
yeah, that's what I had, all of the email, the internet, the network and security, and then the web hosting and the website management.
And so the phones aren't in that.
No,
No, the phones would be in central communication, which is also on this spreadsheet over here. Yeah,
Right.
so I took the SiteGround web hosting was in this and I plunked it over here to be in IT. Oh, sorry, this line to be in IT. But then the newsletter, the phones, that's the all mode, town postage, office supplies and legal ads, which is generally in the clerk contractual. And I thought that it could go out, but that was just my brain working like that. So it's not, obviously not.
so when we're looking at, when we just talked about adding 6,000, were we adding it to this line?
You would add it
information?
to this line.
So that we added 6,000 to that 7,300 already.
Yeah, well,
For the 1620.41 IT line?
Not a bad shape. Good. Janice,
Yeah.
when I have it here on the budget,
Mm-hmm.
the email and the internet under 1650.4. You
Yeah.
can see the 1650.4 central communication is budgeted at 37,400. So I've got that email and the internet already budgeted under central communication. You and I just have some different categories is all.
Yeah. I don't see the exhibit B though. I know I have it on my computer.
Yeah, it's the same as last one.
Yeah, I just don't have it printed out.
yeah, I did have it.
Do you have a copy of what's up there?
Yeah, I have a copy.
Or no, of what's up there right now?
No.
And we also
No.
did have in
No, but this is not the same as the
1620.41 a
budget,
charter
so-
communication
No,
internet of
this is-
$730.
So here, I do have a printout of exhibit B,
Yeah.
the
so
central communication internet service, yeah. So phones, the Mitel, the cell phone, Verizon, the internet service, and town newsletter is what you had for central
Yes.
communication, yeah.
So I have that in there. So I
Yeah.
guess what we're looking for in the 1620.41 is what is going to be needed for SCT computers, for the servers, for the routers, for the.
Yeah, and that's what I would call the
Kind of
network
web
and IT.
host or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's-
all those different things.
That's what I would call the network and IT security line under 1620.41.
Okay,
Right.
I got that.
I know you had. Did that one have an exhibit with it?
What's that?
Network and- No, I don't have one for A 1620.41.
Okay, yeah,
It was kind of up in the air as far as what that was going to be. So
yeah,
I have a breakdown of what has
Yeah,
come
yeah,
out of the
yeah.
county
There's
system
not-
at this point.
it's not the exhibit. Yeah, so this was the breakdown that I was trying to show for IT. line.
Janice, it looks to me like we're talking about different categories, and that's making it more and more confusing for us to see which thing's going in which line according to what we have been looking at. I see that that's your analysis,
Mhm.
but we need it so that it's broken down, so that also can decide, agree, whatever, which thing goes in which account.
I agree, yeah.
No, I
What
think-
do you think?
I thought that, Laura, you had met with Janice with Steve and with
Yes, you did.
David,
Yeah.
and that we had created this new type of communication.
Yeah, we have some
thing.
things like for postage, we met on the postage.
Yeah, right.
But Janice, if
But the
we.
budget got adjusted accordingly, right?
Yeah,
With
yes.
Decreases in one place to compensate for
The
this new
budget, the
category.
budget for the internet and the phones and all of that, I
Yep.
have that under 1650. What would your information, if we don't have the account number, just under information technology, take out
Yeah.
the phones, take out the charter communication stuff, take out the internet and all of that.
Right.
What would the amount be that we would need for SCT computers or any other computer company that we would have for these different items like your server, your network and IT security, site ground web or whatever that all is?
So
the other
yeah, if
thing.
you want to take out the internet, and if you want to take out our email server, but I feel like that should be in IT, that's, I don't know, feels like IT to me.
Sure.
She said leave the server in IT.
Leave the server and stuff like that in IT,
Okay.
just take out like the phones and
Okay,
the,
yep.
Phones aren't there, right?
Yeah, the phones are having central communications anyway, like you do.
okay.
It's
I
like
just moved it.
non-IT.
The only thing that's different from yours and mine is the internet. I included internet for IT as opposed to, so I mean, we could put it over here, right? but
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought I saw in your .41, you had like 15,000 at one point in there. And now you're
I
proposing
did, because it had the
12,600.
6,000 for, it was this line right here, right? So if we were to insert row above, and then we move this over here, it would go there. And so then central communications, and you don't have this in there.
So actually, what you've got up there proposed for 2023 is in the IT line is 12,600.
Yeah.
And we've got here, if we add the 6,000, we've got 13,300.
Yeah, right.
So that's jiving together now, 13,300 in the A16 20.41, if we added the 6,000 to it,
Which we just did.
should it be 12,006? Well, 13,300, that's just
13,
putting
pretty
another
good.
700 in it,
Yeah.
keeping. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That makes sense from what you're showing, Janice, from what your estimates are there. as well. Now, how about the
Did that account for
website?
did that account for replacing the server?
Does that account for?
That's
Yes,
what I
I
need,
think
right?
so.
Yes, yes,
That's,
yes.
yes, because
Yes.
that 6,000 is what Catherine had mentioned,
Yeah.
and adding the
That
6,000.
would include.
That includes the server.
Yes, yes.
Now,
Okay.
Janice, the
Yeah.
.42 line, we've got a website and email maintenance. 20.42
Yeah.
of $4,000.
Why is
Yeah.
that?
Where do you have that in your stuff of what you're budgeting for 2023? Your website and email maintenance.
So website and email maintenance would
Got
be
that in the IT line.
it would be 6,600 because it's here, I'll do it like this. Oops.
So
Right,
that's
that's it.
included in your 12.6.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's included in
Well,
your
Oh,
let's
so
12.6.
see.
we already have that separated out here on this budget at 4,000.
Gotcha, I'll show you.
Oh, okay, so we need to adjust that.
Yeah, so if I'm looking at the right budget, on your 1620.42, I see you have 4,000 for website and email maintenance. And that's what I would call this right here is the email hosting, archiving, and then our cloud-based software.
So
is
that would be
6,000.
6,000.
Mhm.
And then your IT,
But I don't, but so then that 600 right here for the website, I think you also have that included in 1620.42.
Yeah,
Website and email, right?
website and email. So we need to change the 4.41
so we would need
line.
for information technology, 6,600. And for website and email, 6,000.
Okay,
Does
What?
that make sense?
Doesn't make
I
sense.
think reversed. For IT, for the server and the security, it would be 6, and then for the website and email, it would be 6,600.
Gotcha,
Okay.
okay. That
good.
gives us
Yes,
4,000.
yes.
Look at
Okay.
us laugh, look at us
good.
laugh.
I didn't follow that.
For adjusting
Well,
the,
I know you're adjusting, I don't know which
that
one- which one.
12,006 that she had up there,
Yeah,
that included the website. And here on ours, we
have it
were putting
separate.
13,300 in the IT
yeah,
and an additional 4 in the website.
yeah.
So, but that's not correct. Instead, it's just 6,000 under IT and 6,600 under website and email.
Oh.
So
So-
that's going to bring us,
So it's actually, you're going from 7,073 down to 6 instead of up to 13.
right, and this 4,000 is going up to 66.
66.
Well, it's a wash.
Well, yeah, so that you add them all up and you're at, you're at 12,600
Yeah, so
instead of
it's slightly,
13,000.
slightly less, yeah,
Slightly less.
right, slightly less expensive. So,
but more accurate in terms of what they belong
yeah.
to.
Yeah,
So that's,
I mean, that was good to
that's
have
a
that
lot closer
elucidated.
than 6,000 there and 6,600 here.
How are you gonna read that?
I know, right there,
I like-
right there.
I read what? Oh,
They're
she-
right there. I use circles. I remember my excitement.
You got,
Because I thought we had to add that extra 4 grand in there,
Yes.
and we didn't, and we don't. So,
whoa, this is good.
makes sense. This is this is making
Yes,
sense
yes,
between the two calculations. Okay. All right, so
You think-
that's
you
just
think 6,000
adding,
dollars can do it?
Well, we haven't
Yeah.
talked to,
What's this other company I was mentioning?
right, but Janice said that was about, that, let's see.
so the bottom line is, you know, at least
330
at this
per month.
point,
Yeah,
we were thinking about where we were with the budget.
yes, yes.
And then we were saying, okay, now you kind of got an idea where you want to be for now. And then we needed to talk with Janice and talk about the IT. So the only other thing that we were worried about, well, how we were going to add in here is Janice's discussion on salary.
Well,
And I don't know what that was
It's-
about. I'm just remembering the spreadsheet.
yes,
to
right. As
remember.
far as I'm concerned, the salaries, this option 2 is 3% overall increase.
And Jeanette goes for.
Everybody. Everybody is
salary
the same.
increase For anybody,
Everybody, yes.
sounds like except for.
Yeah, except the highway is, because one, particularly since they're hourly, it's different, handled differently.
Now, how do you figure that 3%? You want to figure it as in the past, it has been a percentage of the line item.
This is not a percentage of the line item.
No,
Like
no.
if we were to look at
Salary.
Janice, let me see if I can find it.
Well, for any of them. I mean, if you
Well-
talk, it's usually been a
The
percentage of the
numbers
line
are
item.
on the sheet. She passed it out, October 26, 2002. She has the exact thing for everybody identified separately, every single person.
But like I said, that's not the way. you should do it.
Janice, if you were to give her 3% overall,
And what do you mean by
actually,
overall?
overall, that means net of her health insurance, net of that 12%. She's actually gonna be getting in her line item for salary, a 6.38% in the line item,
In the line item.
in the
Yeah.
line item, because
that's-
she would need that to cover the extra for her health insurance. And actually, it'd probably be even a little bit more than that overall, because by giving her that, because of the 2022 1,600 that I didn't take out in there.
Okay.
So that's why you can see on this sheet that I had sent out, you can see what the percentage that each person would get in their line item, actually,
Unless you printed it, you don't have it.
Yes, right here.
Is it?
for 12%.
Find it.
5.06, 5.45.
She emailed it good.
You
Janice is
emailed it,
would
but
be a-
unless you printed it, you don't have it.
I printed it.
Right.
Okay.
Would you like me to print something?
Janice would be a 6.38%,
Right.
because these are for all the people who get health insurance and are gonna be affected by that increase,
Right.
that 6% increase.
Does he have a sheet?
I just gave
She
mine.
just gave me first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw this.
Whereas like Keith doesn't take health insurance,
Right.
but he's gonna have a straight 3% increase.
Right.
Joel, a straight 3% increase. The court, 3%. Joanna, Mary Ann, 3%. So they're getting a straight 3% in their line item because there's nothing to net out because they don't get health insurance.
Yeah, and of course, that's a consequence of the way we did the analysis, because which is not what I had proposed, because I was trying to address the equity issue. and we're punting on it again, which is to say that there's a huge benefit to those who have it, have health insurance. And I would like to move in the direction of saying we should be compensating those people who don't have health insurance enough to buy it for themselves, in proportion to how much time they're spending. It doesn't seem-
And not
I don't think you're
everything can
making
be done at one time.
No, it was going to be.
Especially at a 6%, 7% tax increase. Eight.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
not talking about doing it all at one time, but I'm talking about doing something as opposed to doing nothing.
We're not, it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. It's not nothing at all.
Yes, it is with respect to health insurance, isn't it? For those who don't have it now? We're talking about a 3% increase, a 3% increase, which is less than half the rate of inflation. Nothing, none of that represented an adjustment
People
for
that
health
don't
insurance.
have health insurance, our Keith, who doesn't?
Keith, and the part-time, like Alyssa.
All part-timers.
Alyssa,
Yeah, and
And
seldom do
Betsy,
part-timers in any business have health insurance.
It's an equity issue.
Almost none. Yes, but we can't solve that equity
We could
issue.
solve it for our employees and set an example.
We're not when we do it at the expense of the entire tax base in the town.
That sounds like an excuse for never making any gains in equity.
I hear what you're saying, Joel. And I think that we're going like this because, and that's not, it's not useful. So there's, you're not willing to compromise on the ideas of it. And that's what we're running up against with some of us because the idea that we're not going to try and change an employee's, I don't want to see people not get insurance because their pay went up and they don't need, get insurance. I don't want to see that. I don't want to be part of that.
excuse me 1 second.
So that's where we are. They should put more of their own money in it.
Well,
I think this is why we're running
there's
against
two
each
things
other.
going on. And part of the motivation for my proposing that we increase the employee contribution and pay for it was so that, we, right now, and I did this analysis for the highway purposes so that I could have it for negotiations, that what is our actual compensation for an employee? You add up their hourly pay plus what we contribute for, the health insurance, plus vacation and sick and FICA and, disability insurance and the retirement fund. What does that amount to? What are we actually paying? What's it costing the town per employee? Okay, you add that all up, and instead of somebody being paid $20 an hour, being paid somebody like $47, $12 an hour just for the health insurance. Now that's but they don't see that. It's just a benefit. Okay.
Okay.
But if you
they
move
do
it,
see
if you
benefit.
move it from,
But Joel, people do see benefit as benefit. They see it as this is a good reason to have this job.
Exactly.
This is a good reason to work in Danby. That's what I think is important, that this is, and right now you're only talking about highway. I thought we were going to talk about
Yeah.
what we can do.
well, that's what I was getting to. So you've got
Well,
that, for full-timers, whether they're highway or not.
Right,
Full-timers
full-time.
have all of these benefits, which add up to a whole heap. It's like more than half of their compensation is in benefit, unless you're $60,000 a year
Would you
plan.
do me a big favor and stop talking about highway, and let's just talk about what would be equity for the part-timer?
Yeah,
Just do that.
that's what I'm getting to.
No, but you keep mentioning it against highway. We only talk about the equity of the part-timers. Try that.
Okay, well,
Your microphone cut
I
out,
have to compare it.
Catherine.
Yeah, that's right. When you're looking at me, you're not looking at me.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is that for a full-timer, whether they're highway or anybody else, they have all of these benefits.
You're still doing it. Sorry. You're still doing it.
For a full-timer, whether they're highway or not, there are all these benefits. Okay, I'm talking about other people besides highway. I'm talking about all the full-timers. I'm talking about Laura, I'm talking about Janice, I'm talking about Steve, I'm talking about David. You've got all these benefits. If you're a part-timer, you don't have any of those benefits. You have just your hourly pay.
I got that. And so what I'm asking you to do is stop, you mentioned time in your argument, and please just talk about what could we, not how we take it away from others, just how can we increase the equity for those people that don't have the benefit.
Well, okay, so what we could do is we could acknowledge that they need some of these things. And if we don't give for them to buy them, we're asking them to take it out of their lesser amount of money. We're willing to give it, we're giving it to the others, but we're not giving anything to the part-timers. So what I want to do is I want to say, look, we're going to pay you more so that you can turn around and buy insurance if you need it.
You stuck your finger in that one. Take it.
Which
No,
one?
not the next one.
This one?
Yeah, that one.
This
That
one?
one's Jules.
This is mine. She fingered me.
I mean, is there an option for,
Brr.
is there an option for part-time people to get insurance? Prorated.
Right now, the way it
Not,
stands,
not right now, we don't, but with the insurance consortium that we're part of,
But what
is
is,
it possible for part-time people to get insurance? If we
anybody
offer
can
it?
get
you
insurance through
mean
the
through
consortium.
the,
Yes.
in other words, can somebody who's a part-timer opt into our
Yeah.
insurance? Probably, but we're not going to pay for it. You're not, no, but I mean, are you going to give somebody who says, okay, I'd like to have your insurance? Are you going to give it to them?
When I hear some figures, we have something to talk about.
It's $2,000 a month for somebody to get a family policy.
$24,000 a year.
So you would, right now what we have is if, say, somebody works 30 hours a week, then we pay for 75% of their insurance. Well, we take the insurance, minus out the deduction. If they get it, we figure out what we'd have for a full-time employee, and then we give them, if they work 30 hours a week, 75% of what everybody else gets, because they're only 30 hours a week. They pay the other 25%. That's what we did with CJ, and that's what we did with Matt. What was our code enforcement?
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember the audit. You don't have a policy to justify it.
Well, it's in our employee handbook, I believe.
Is it?
Yep, I'm pretty sure it is, and that's where we got it from, where went up to, as long as they worked 30 hours, then they came on and we paid for a prorated amount of their insurance,
If they wanted it.
if they wanted it
somebody
at 30
may-
hours.
Be in that situation and their spouse or partner, has
Right.
insurance through their work, and they're
Right.
not gonna get the benefit of our insurance either.
Right.
So what
They're
we've
not gonna
done,
get our
and this is,
insurance.
and this is where we do need that policy too, what Joel's saying, we do need a better policy, a policy in general.
Uh-huh,
So like, let's say Keith, his wife has the insurance.
right,
So we pay him the amount that her contribution is to her insurance there. So where she works, she pays so much out of her paycheck for the insurance.
right.
So we reimburse him that amount that she pays. And it's thousands of dollars less a year, of course,
Yeah.
because she's just contributing a small amount too. So we pay for that, and that's the benefit that he gets. And anybody really whose
Anybody could do that.
spouse carries the insurance for them, they give us the proof of how much it is, and that's how much. But we do have to have it written down in the policy that that we would do that.
Okay, so we have to change it. But I mean, maybe there's something, instead of working through this, we could do something with the policy of who is offered, how they pay, how much they pay.
And we should have a payroll policy, and then we should have a policy for this insurance,
Payroll
as you're saying,
policy
an
and
insurance policy. And that's something during the year we could address and
Okay,
take a look at. And then try to decide where you want to go with that.
Yeah,
What you want to offer for.
So you're saying that right now, Well, it doesn't apply to part-time. You have to work at least 30 hours.
30 hours, that was my understanding from the beginning too. If you go at least 30 hours, because I remember when CJ was here,
Yeah.
she was only working
Right.
25 hours.
Right, but yeah,
She decided to come up the extra 5 hours and then have a big, she still had quite a deduction from her payroll to cover that 25% that she had to cover.
Right.
But then we covered the 75%.
So
We
we're-
did the same
okay,
with
yeah.
Matt.
So I think what we need to do,
Is
this is
deter-
this is not a budget issue. This is a policy issue, so we need to
Well,
look at that as a
well,
policy
it's a-
issue.
It's a
over the
policy
years.
issue with
Yeah.
budgetary
Yeah, the
implications.
budget-
Of
And
course,
maybe,
but we need to
maybe
do
you'll
the
make
bo-
decisions
maybe
that
up
next
to
year.
Policy first afterwards.
Yeah, maybe
Don't
if you
do
come up with that policy, then you can look at.
I can't hear you, Catherine.
I'm saying to Joel that what he's trying to say is talk about equity. And that means that if we want to say that, that is helpful to the employees to hear that we are looking at this. And that's one of the things your goal was, is to say, we acknowledge, we can't do this all right now. but we
Yeah,
are-
Catherine, your microphone isn't working. And since I've already interrupted about the microphone, when there is a second, I would like to also say something about staff equity and part-time employees and health insurance. And when there's a moment, and you can call on me.
I can't understand you, Janice, so I'm trying to be able to understand your question. I don't know what you just said.
well, the equity and insurance issue, we're gonna take up this year
Right.
and look at a policy. So we're not doing that right
But
now.
we're not doing it, and we're not doing anything in this budget for
Right.
the part-timers.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, we are. You're in there.
Yeah, we're raising
Just
it
their
3%,
increase in
yes, we
pay.
are.
30%,
but
but
not-
that doesn't address the insurance equity issue at all.
And that's not
me
appropriate
to
to
give you
do
this
in the
one?
budget. It needs to be done as a policy, which we need to set
Well, I
that
mean,
policy.
the policy
And we-
kind of.
We need to think about it carefully and do some analysis on it.
I
And we're
think
not
we
gonna
could
do
take
that
care
in
of a
10
couple
minutes.
things
that
with
one
the
of-
policy.
This
I
works.
think
This one works. Yep.
That works. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can speak to some of the issues.
I would like to give Janice an opportunity to speak briefly.
Thank you. I was just gonna say that I can speak to some of the issues about the part-timers with the health insurance and even, to an extent, full-timers with health insurance, because I could essentially get cheaper health insurance because I am, I don't make a lot of money. And so I would qualify for my family of 4 to get the children's health insurance plan through the state, and I would also qualify to get other state health insurance, and then that would no longer come out of my check, right? So I think a lot of people are considering that option to just go ahead and get their own health insurance through the marketplace because it is in effect cheaper. I also wanted to point out the bit about equity. I don't know if it's in the same way that you were talking about it, but the equity in terms of increasing raises for people as a percentage, because if we want to look within the town, I think that there is a huge discrepancy between how much the clerk office makes, how much the code enforcement office makes, and how much the planning office makes, as well as other people in the town. And so I think if we want to consider equity in terms of how much work goes through each particular office or department, then we need to consider that some of these departments are incredibly underpaid. And so to raise that bar to be on the same playing field would be beneficial to those who are currently underpaid.
Okay.
That was a statement. I got the statement, but I'm not sure what your thought of solution was for it, but I understand the statement.
Yeah. Well, I mean, specifically, it would be in relation which I am hearing that is not on the negotiation table for whatever reason. But I can't, I mean, I very strongly disagree that I would be okay with a 3% increase because I'm already at the bottom of the barrel. And for the amount of work that goes through the clerk office, that is very inequitable. So that's all I can say to consider.
Well, I think it's fair to say that the board disagrees that you're underpaid. In comparison to, and of course, it's a matter of what the office commands, if you will, compensation in other towns of our size. What you're expected to do. We are looking to relieve you of some of the things that you're doing that are in addition to your statutory duties, which should help, but it doesn't give you any more money. But, so I mean, in effect, you're making the case that, I can do and am willing to do more, but I ought to be paid more. And the board's just not willing to do it, basically, is what I'm hearing.
I mean, I think it's unfortunate because, if we compare what goes on in this town with what goes on in other comparable towns, which again, I will go back to Ulysses and Groton, in terms of what their town officials do and what kinds of policies they have in place. And, to the extent that we've redone zoning, we've redone all kinds of things. We are trying to get all of our records in place. The extent that the clerk office has had a high turnover and is very difficult to find that chain of institutional knowledge coming through and being able to put it into place the way the clerk's office is supposed to have it in place. I think that there is a lot of work here that needs to be done. The extent that the clerk office handles communications, it handles information, it handles, handles finances, it handles so many things that, if you break down my salary for a full-time job, I'm getting at most $21 an hour, at least $21 an hour with the new budget increases, or at most $23 an hour. And if we look at other people, I don't think that is a fair comparison for the amount of work and responsibility and authority that the position holds. The typist starting salary is, I think, $22 an hour.
Is it?
What? Who?
What type is?
Yeah, like our part-time typists that we call, like for Betsy Kiyakowski and Alyssa, they're at like $23 an hour, something like that. They're right now at $23 an hour.
Right.
Joanna, she's in 2023, she'll be at close to 17 an hour at what she does. And Cynthia will be at the like $19.90 an hour, so almost $20 an hour for Cynthia in 2023 with the 3% increase. So those are some of the amounts for the people who are part-time. Marianne is at like $18.80 an hour, something like that, Marianne. So those are what those are at right now. Let me see if I can make sure I got that accurate.
So, what's doing it?
Like 16 something. Let me see if I can
Which
find
is
it.
ridiculously less. I mean,
Or 17.
Yeah, Joanna is at,
I mean, maybe one of the other things that we could do.
oh, I don't have the hourly rates on here. I just have,
Next year is, and I can't think of the name of it. We used to do it.
I didn't put the hourly rates on.
There
this,
were a
I'm
couple
sorry.
places I worked at was, and I can't remember the name of it. It was like a workflow study, where everybody kept track of what they did for a month. Or what,
yeah.
what is it you're doing? What is it that code's doing? What's
Yeah.
Dave doing? But, you know, especially if it's going to be related to compensation, we need to have something like that.
I do already have to do that with the record of activities for the state since it's an elected official position.
Mhm. And based on that, how much time you put in?
Well, know what's the content?
I'd have to put out the report. I can get that information to you.
It just shows hours, right?
It shows hours, and I think you have to put down
What
Like
it is.
your
you-
task. Yeah, it's like the
Task.
tasks that you're doing
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
hours. Like the tasks day hours you spent that day.
Mhm.
Right.
How many hours in a year? 10,070 was it?
I'm sorry,
How many hours in a year?
2,080. If 40-hour-a-week person, be 2080, 20,000, 2,080 hours.
Now, are we supposed to set a public hearing now, or are we doing that at the next meeting?
It's on the agenda.
On the next meeting?
No, here,
It's on, okay, so we need to set the public hearing then.
right. Which can be the 9th of November.
Based on what we've done today.
Well,
Yeah, we can't.
It's gonna put you on that amount of the levy increase if you did go with option 2,
Right, well,
if
with
everybody-
these changes that we
with those changes that you made.
Yeah,
well, we need to finish talking about it.
Yes. Okay.
Because when we publish the public notice, it has to include the proposed salary.
right.
And the proposed salaries cannot be increased for
Right.
whatever that published thing is. So
Right.
if we're going to entertain any kind of an increase beyond what we've talked about so far, we need to do it before we decide what the preliminary budget is that's going to get public.
I would like to not do any increases other than the normal percentage.
Yeah,
across the
I
board
think at this point in time, with more
until there
data,
is some kind of a
hard copy,
work-
More data.
study.
more data. Yeah, I would prefer option 2 with the changes we've made today.
I know you do.
Joel.
Mean and nasty.
And I don't.
And I think with the public hearing, supposedly based on what Janice sent out, I believe it says it has to be between 11:04 and 11:10.
What has to, I think it has to be between the 11:08 and 11:09 and 11:10.
That's what was on the email. I didn't. check
Right,
it.
but,
Something,
yeah, but because we're so far close, we need time to be able to put the notice in the newspaper. So that limits us to, 7 days or whatever before that. So I think Joel and I calculated, that.
Between 11:08 and 11:10 then?
Yeah,
We can't change the 11:10 ending point.
right. So, because we would need to I would need to send to the Ithaca Journal, the notice of public hearing, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
by Monday or Tuesday at the very latest.
Yeah, that only gives us 2 days is all.
So
Or
11:08.
actually Wednesday, I think what I was able to, I did get an updated schedule of publication deadlines. So I could do it Wednesday, but I think that would only be for the 10th.
What about the 9th?
So to be clear, we could, if we're not, if we feel we're at the point where, if you feel we're at the point where we could call something here a preliminary budget, and we're willing to put that as put the notice in, that's what it is, and a copy is available with the town clerk,
Right.
then we can set the public hearing and we're good. We don't need any more meetings and all that. If we think we need more time, we could still deal with the budget on Tuesday. That would be the last opportunity to adjust it and call it, and call it whatever we come up with then.
Do we
Could
have
still
enough
be,
time to do
it
a
would
public-
still be just enough time on Tuesday to get it in for the hearing on the 10th,
Which is the very last day
which
to
is the
do it,
very last day.
which is really cutting it close.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not like 9th is a whole lot less, but it's one of those 2 days, really. if we finalize it now, it's Friday, it's too late to get it into the journal today. And then you don't do it on the weekend. So we're talking about doing it on Monday. And, you're talking about notice on Monday, which is only a day before Tuesday. That's why, you get an extra day out of it, but that's
No,
all.
no, because you can't put it in on Tuesday, you put it on a Wednesday, you're talking 2 days.
You have to put it on Wednesday?
We don't meet Monday night, we meet Tuesday.
We meet Tuesday.
Meet
Yeah,
on Tuesday.
so
No,
then
no, but
it's
if we-
Tuesday night, so it goes in for Wednesday, not,
If we decide today,
Well, we could
yeah, we can
decide
put it Monday
today
morning.
to-
Yeah.
if we decide today, then we're going on Monday.
Yeah, right,
Right.
otherwise it goes on Wednesday.
Right.
And now gives us more leeway in terms of the endpoint, because these endpoints, the November 10th endpoint is a state requirement. That's not, we can't change that one.
No, we can't. So if supposing we decide right now what we want to put in, okay? The notice can go in on, well, that she can send them the copy
Go in on
on
Monday.
Monday. They need 2 days.
Mhm.
So that brings you to Thursday, right? And then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That means it could be, we could have, that brings it to the 9th.
That's what I was hoping.
Yeah, right.
The
Public
9th?
hearing.
Yeah,
on the ninth.
yes.
Well, I mean, as
Let's
I
give
say,
it
it's either
a
the
day
9th or the
leeway.
10th. So, if you'd either the 9th, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the 9th is better. Now, the election is the 8th, right?
Yeah, correct.
So we do not want to do it on the 8th.
No,
Although, as somebody pointed out, we actually did it on the 8th last year.
we've done.
I mean, we
we've
did it
done
on election
before,
day last
Yeah,
time.
and we've done, yeah. people weren't
And you know,
happy.
reason why we didn't do it in the past? Because this was the polling place.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing that says you have to have it done before the election or after the election.
No.
That doesn't play a part. in
Well,
it.
no,
no.
actually, there is. The
The
law
public
says
hearing.
the public hearing has to be within 2 days after the election.
After the, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So
So
that's
then,
we
what,
have
that's
to
what
do it
sets,
on the
that's what
9th
makes the
if
10th the
it's not.
deadline.
right,
So if.
so the 9th gives us some leeway in case something gets screwed up.
Yeah, yeah.
If the public
whole lot,
notice can go in on Monday for a public hearing on the 9th,
Right.
right now, as it stands, the one thing that can't be changed, our salaries cannot go up.
Right, they could go down, but it can't go up.
But there could be minor tweaks.
Yes,
I mean, why
We
have
could- we could-
public hearing?
We could change anything else.
Right, that's what
The only thing we
that's what I
can't, the only thing we
meant. Okay, so
can't do is
can tweak
increase the salary.
some of the other lines.
Okay.
We
And that's only
can't
for the elected
increase-
positions.
Pardon?
And that's only for the elected positions. We could increase salaries for other positions if we wanted to,
Oh, really, for
Yeah.
appointed?
yeah,
Right,
but not for the elected.
okay. Well, that would be my vote.
yeah, that's
To
my
do
vote,
that.
that's my vote.
Well, why don't we
too,
make
yes.
it formal?
I move that we approve option 2 for the preliminary budget, and we schedule a public hearing on 11/9, and I assume we mean 6 o'clock
Well,
Oh, okay.
or 7? I don't really care, but we've been meeting.
I'm 7, I'm like set.
7
I
seems
had
like a
time to
time
add
to
it.
meet, 6 I have to pay attention to.
Yeah,
Okay, so 11/9, the public hearing,
If we're just going to do it for the public hearing,
that's true.
so we're not, so maybe 7 is easier. And 7 might be easier for public people to come as well.
yes,
Okay, 7.
7, okay, sounds good.
7 o'clock public hearing on the 9th. Notification to go in on the
Monday.
31st.
Right,
Is it the
yeah,
31st?
cool,
Now, is this the preliminary budget that we're talking, oh, wait.
yes.
And the preliminary budget can't have any increases in salaries?
Right.
Well, you
Well,
can- you could put whatever you want in.
just for elected.
Oh, for
But as far as changing the salaries after the public hearing, it can only decrease, it cannot
That's
increase
what I-
for
Right.
elected positions.
Right, right.
Right.
So,
So that was an all-in-one motion instead of being two.
So that is one motion to approve the preliminary budget or the tentative budget and make it preliminary and to hold the public hearing on.
Now, Sarah would say, don't do that. We're combining things into one motion.
okay, let's not
There
combine
should
them
be
in one
separate
motion.
motions.
So
Okay,
separate
So
it out.
then, so then I have resolution 203.
Draw that motion, and I'll make a motion to approve the option 2 with the changes we made as a preliminary budget. Official, whatever.
Second,
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Leslie.
You want to talk about it anymore?
Do you want to talk about it more,
Yes,
Joel?
he does.
Yeah.
I know, I can see in his
Yeah.
eyes.
Well, I mean,
That he has
we
some
could
different
not
thoughts,
talk
but
about it
maybe
more, and I could simply vote no,
I think, yeah, that's true. But I think,
because I'm not
I
okay
think
with it.
if we, make a plan to talk about policy and insurance
Yes,
policy.
long-term.
In the beginning of the year, that may help address some of the concerns about part-timers and,
And that's
what they
not a
have
budgetary issue, that's a policy issue,
Yeah,
and it needs
yeah.
to be carefully evaluated.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
You
Well,
have thoughts about,
I agree that, well, I agree with all of that. I'm just in a rather different place as far as what I think are reasonable increases for people. I don't think a 3% increase is a reasonable increase in an 8% environment.
I hate to be the one that goes in the raises again. I'm totally, partly agree with you. 3% is not very much money, and I get that. I don't know what the right answer is. I started figuring out that 3% times 80 hours, and it's not a lot of money. But I'm not very, one of the things is we can't be paying people by what they do. That's the problem with an analysis. And we can't say, well, we're not paying you for what you're not doing. We can't do that either. But when we do want to pay somebody to do the website and the newsletter. There are some changes. What?
Did we put anything in to do that?
Yes.
Yes. And there are some changes in what has to be done in the town. That cannot be adjusted without talking about the money after the preliminary.
Yeah, there can be change, I mean, there can't be substantial changes to any,
Right.
as far as I know, if you're having a public hearing on something and you make substantial changes, you need to have another public hearing.
Well, the Janice, hopefully, quoted an opinion by the Office of the State Controller. I think it was the Office of the State Controller, to the effect that you can make whatever changes you want, and it does not require a second public hearing, whether it's substantive or not.
Well,
Except the one
Yeah.
exception being salaries. Salaries can't be. it can
Well,
only
that's
be-
the one we're talking about. That's the elephant.
yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
No,
What other ones are we
Well,
talking
no,
about?
it's all the salary lines. I mean,
Well, that's what I
to
think
say
I
it
just
again,
said.
There's other lines.
Can
that
I-
might-
can I-
to say it again, what we're doing is we're giving a 20% increase to highway, and we're paying for it with a 3% increase for everybody else. I don't think that's fair.
You can choose how you say things to make it sound really bad or good. And that's what we're trying to do, is come up with some kind of even way of looking at the whole thing without having our real strong individual personal opinions be the driver for the group. If I'm saying that's sort of okay.
Well, what I'm saying is I'm not arguing that we shouldn't be giving highway, the increase we're talking about. I'm arguing that we should also be giving, our non-union employees something that helps them at least account for inflation.
and the argument on the other side is that everybody in the town has the same issue compensating for inflation. And we don't want to overcompensate in what we charge them based on inflation.
here's another
We're an
thought.
employer. I think we have a responsibility to
Our employees.
our employees.
And we're a town board. We have a responsibility to the entire resident of the town,
Well, we had two.
mostly.
Everybody has really strong feelings about this. I know this is difficult. What were you going to say, Laura?
Another way to look at it from what you're saying, Joel. If we were going to compare apples and apples between highway and the rest of the employees, the highway, we're giving them an increase based on something different than a percentage. We're giving them an increase based on what we see in other municipalities throughout the county and the areas to make sure that they're getting comparable amount for their job. Now, if we did the same thing with all of the other, let's say we took the code enforcement officer and we took his, and instead of thinking of a percentage of increase, we said, all right, let's check out all the other code enforcement officers in the area. I'm going to be willing to bet you that our code enforcement officer makes more in this town than in other ones. So if you're talking about the two methods we're using at determining these salary increases, if we wanted to be comparable, you take a look at our part-time typists that are keeping the minutes and they're making $23, $24 an hour. I'm going to bet you that the other part-time typists in other cities are not making $24 an hour. I'm going to bet
So
that.
can I ask a question then?
But I'm saying I don't think that that would be the way to approach the other ones the same way as highway, because highway has just been artificially underpaid with those.
Yeah, we're talking about a 20% increase there.
So then,
But it's over a period, long period of
But it's over a
time
long
that
period of
we're
time.
compensating for.
That
We're
other-
not compensating for the fact that they're low this year. They were low last year and for the last 10, 20 years.
As compared to what
That's
others were
different.
making hourly rates in other municipalities.
Yeah.
Whereas our
Well, then,
other,
I
haven't,
just
but
have
I
a
don't know about town clerk. Well, I'm
question.
sorry.
Because when I make the argument of comparing the clerk salary to other municipality salaries, I get the response that you're not comparing the right thing when I say Groton and what did I say? Ulysses and Groton and Newfield even, because we're not the same population. So how can we compare the highway to all of the other municipalities regardless of population size, and then say, but that doesn't count for the clerk office or the code office or any other office, because I
The
think
major
that,
difference, there is a major difference there.
how
The
is there a major difference?
Is, what comparison we had for you that you provided was 3 other municipalities. What we
Yeah,
have for
so-
the others is in all the county, which means if we want to do that analysis, we need that more detailed analysis,
I have that analysis. I'm happy to provide that analysis for you.
which is past time now.
Everything is always past time for you. It's hard. And I think, as someone who has skin in this game and as an elected official who is playing this, tight walk roping game of trying to figure out my place in the grand scheme of things with the town and the town board, and where my role comes in and when I can talk and when I can't talk, and this does affect me. And to be an elected official, for whatever reason, I don't know why it's an elected official position. I can't think of any reason currently. I'm sure there were reasons in the past, but it is what it is. It's an elected official position. Public officials don't get paid very well, yet this office bears the brunt of a lot of the work that goes through this town. And so to say that, you didn't bring the information up in time is to say, too bad on you, because I'm getting mixed messages from the board. I'm getting mixed messages from other departments. I'm getting mixed messages everywhere. So either I am a part of this conversation because I do have skin in this game, or I am not a part of the conversation. But in some levels, it doesn't much matter, because the bottom line is that this office is severely underpaid. And I don't care what town you look at. If you look at Enfield, if you look at Caroline, they are severely underpaid for the amount of work that they do for the town, right? And let's be clear that most of this work is women's work, and women are historically underpaid. The highway is man's work, code, man's work, right? All of this is a very, very
probably
clear
shouldn't go
gender
there.
bias. And so I want everyone to be clear that I can give you those numbers. I am fully capable of giving numbers to say, here's where I stack up in the grand scheme of things. And it is pretty much at the bottom. So, you just,
It's not that different than what was in Newfield. And the reason it looks like they're getting paid more is because they're paying 20% towards their health insurance. If you subtract that out, then you come pretty darn close. And the Newfield clerk also collects the school taxes, which you don't.
Really?
So subtract that out, it brings it down to about the same as mom, is what you're being paid.
Yes, and I will also say that there are several clerks throughout the county that have different lines to break down where they're collecting the taxes, where there's property taxes and or school taxes, where they're doing website stuff, where they're doing other, I don't know, information technology stuff. So there are ways that the clerks can increase their salaries. And yet here it seems to be a non-starter. You know, I already built a website for free.
Hey, Janice.
I was the IT person for free. So, I mean, all of these things that I have upgraded, regardless of whether you did it better or worse, I did.
Janice, I'm sorry, but it's not regardless. Dennis.
I did a boatload of
Janice, enough.
Okay. Am I turned on? It's not regardless. I mean, that's where we have to be careful, because we're all capable of saying our value is different from other people's or better than other people's, or whether something's man's work, which really we don't want to do. There's a lot of things that, you know, as far as whether we like the system that you brought into us, I think, I'm sorry, but it does matter. There are some things that do matter, and there's not a matter of penalty or reward. I think we just need to be a little more careful. I hear you. I actually do hear you talking about the amount of money, and I see that 3% on your salary is not very much. And the only thing that's bothering me right now is that if we set this preliminary thing, we can't do anything about it next week. That bothers me too. I get that. I don't know what the right answer is right now, but I don't think it's helpful for us to keep being told that we don't recognize the value, something like that. So,
well, I mean, I will say that actions speak louder than words. So whether or not you do appreciate it, it certainly hasn't come across to me. I've had many residents, I've had many appointed committee members, board members thank me for transitioning from the digital towpath. I mean, so there is a lot of benefit that I think has come out from it. But, you know, just one last comment that I would like to make, because it is personally relevant to me, is that I do not earn, regardless, like, okay, regardless is currently my favorite word, but what I want to say is that this position, it has a lot of responsibility, and it has a lot of functions and statutory requirements that go with it that do not match up with the pay range, okay? Coupled with that is the fact that I have been doing so much more extra things to improve the systems of how we maintain and store and keep our records and put everything through. And yet, this is a very personal issue here, but I want to be very transparent. I am unable to secure a loan to build a house at White Hawk because I don't make enough money, and I have a lot of student loan debt. And there are lots of people who don't want to erase student loan debt. I am over 10 years out from getting my last degree, and I still have a ton of student loan debt. And I am unable to get a loan to build a house at White Hawk. And I don't know. I mean, I think that says something. It says something about our system. It says something about my pay value. It says something about affordable housing, which I think is a joke because there is no such thing as affordable housing. But that is my very transparent, personal perspective on what's happening. And so when the board is talking about 3% is enough because everybody in Danby is feeling the pressure of 8% inflation, you know, I can't help but think, but how are you treating the people who are working for you? How do you, as a board, value the people who are working for you, for the residents? And I think that says a lot.
Janice, you've made quite a good case for the situation that's around the whole county, for all the people who are underpaid and the affordable housing. You're right. That's a bad problem. And that is something that we all have to look at in terms of who we elect all across the country. I mean, that's a different kind of issue. I get it. When you talk about the things that you do, we need to have those things done also. We need the minutes. We need the abstracts. We don't need, we need a website that's easier to see. These are things that you have brought that you feel are really important. And
That is within the realm of the clerk's office.
what?
Well, it is.
Those are things that are within the realm of the clerk's office, of communicating information, of disseminating information, of making information readily available.
But Janice, I think part of that is that these feel to me, and then perhaps it's not proper for me to say it, but they feel like some of those are your personal choices for the town. And that, you know, we all have a personal choice in the jobs we take. We have personal choices in how we vote. We have personal choices how we spend our money. And I don't know how, I understand what you're saying. I couldn't get a loan right now either, if I wanted to. Now, granted, I have a house, but I couldn't get a loan either. And I don't, right now, I don't have student loans, but those things are some things that come with each one of us when we go to apply for a job. You know, I just wish that there were a way for you to look at this from the point of view that we're not trying to reward or punish anybody or select. We're trying to be fair-minded, and perhaps this 3%, it's not a lot of money. I see that, but keeping the insurance at 12% rather than 25% is a big value.
No, because now if you net it out, which is what we did. So,
Well, I want to go back to like looking at work, you know, the workflow and
Yeah.
what people's duties are, and relieving people if they're, you know, if they've taken on too much.
Right.
Well,
What are the expectations?
well, there is that, but I'd like to do a little bit of defense of Janice, because when we hired her, we did. It was a matter of filling an unexpired term. We pitched this job as central communications. You know, there's more to the clerk. The clerk is the kingpin, if you will,
Yeah.
well, that's what we pitched it as. You know, the communication central. I remember mentioning that to the candidates, both of them. You know, we supported, you know, Janice's initiatives in you know, dealing with email, dealing with the phone system, dealing with the website, and bringing us improving our communications. So she's done a lot of work, which are not a lot, none of which is typically, it's part of the statutory requirements for a clerk. Okay, so we were taking advantage of what she brought to the table with her background and her expertise. But we weren't paying her accordingly. We were paying her what a clerk typically gets paid. So now we're saying, well, you know, we can't really justify paying you more than what a clerk is typically paid, but what we maybe can do is take some of these things that are now, that you've been dealing with on our behalf, and shift them to somebody else so that they're not something you have to deal with. But we're going to keep your pay the same.
Well, the other option would be, you know, for somebody, you know, if we're looking at potentially paying somebody to do newsletter and website, you know, those are costs that somebody could, you know, potentially a clerk could say, I'll do that for $3,000, or I'll do that, you know,
Yeah,
those
right.
are things. So I mean, that's an option, you know, potentially. But I mean, the other thing is there, and I know, I feel like there's a little bit of a panic, because if we decide this today, it's a done deal. Have we not increased salaries in the middle of the year? For
Not for
somebody,
elected, you
one
can't.
person? Haven't we ever done that?
We have for people,
We
but
have
not
done that.
necessarily for elected.
You can't
I
do
don't
it for
know.
elected, but you can do it for others.
You can do it
as
for
I said.
Not for
elected.
elected.
I don't know that.
Well, you know, what the law says is you can increase it for elected, but it takes, you have to do it by local law,
Well,
subject to permissive
You could do, so
referendum.
there are ways, so like if you
we
want
can
to.
do that anytime we
So it is-
want. So
there
I
is a way to
mean,
do it.
I'm
So there
I'm
is a
just
way
saying
to
there's
do it.
not a panic about this
No.
today.
Right.
There is a mechanism. It requires passing
But
a
I
local
want to
law.
look at tasks, and I want to look at, you know, what is it? Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about a clerk's job or any other job, I mean, okay, what are the duties? What, you know, what are extra, that maybe, you know, need more compensation or whatever. But I look at
Our data.
what's done or what isn't done or whatever. And we're not handicapped from doing something in the coming year.
In the coming years, so let's say you wanted,
Well, we did it last year.
You
Keep in
wanna-
mind, you know,
Yes.
we raised Cindy's
Yeah,
compensation in like October of last
Yeah.
year, you know, it was sort of,
well, I think we
budget.
did, you know, Alyssa's and stuff, but
Yeah,
I
we
know
can do
she's not
that.
elected, neither.
how about if we did something like, let's say, as the year went
it's just
on,
harder for an elected. That's
some
all.
of the things that Janice does or
Some extra
whatever,
stuff.
like, put them out, take those and make, like, say, we need an extra position for these. Can she be an elected official and
Right,
take the extra position?
Yeah, I think
And
she
that's
can,
not
and that's
elected,
something we
right.
might want to look at.
And then that was, so
That's
like,
what I-
say you took this for the website
That's
or
what I
something.
meant. That's what
And
I
then
was
that sit there
getting-
and Janice says, well, I'll do the website.
Right.
But, you know, then they get into, you can't really do that during working hours and all that
Right,
stuff. But you
right.
know,
Right. Well, Sarah did.
Yeah, she
Sarah did
did.
a lot of stuff.
you know, you
So
can.
we have the options.
I
We have-
think that
there are
there
a lot
would
of
still be
options, but
some
during the year
options
when we
of
get
some
more
things
data.
that we could do
We're
to
not,
get
we're not locked
Janice-
in.
to
Well, you know,
compensate
as an
Janice
elected
when
official-
things come out.
Yeah, as an elected official, she's not held to a 40-hour week.
It never was a full-time job.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying is, you know, the hours of the clerk are not something that the town dictates.
No.
We don't say you have, it's a
If you do
40-hour a
your
week
in
job.
15 hours.
It's a $44,000 job, whether you're working 10 hours a week or 60 hours a week.
And Janice will figure that out as she's doing her 3-month thing. As you do your 3-month thing, Janice, you put that down. You'll see your average hours per week might come out to be 32 or some such. And that would give you another 8 hours a week or whatever that you could work on other things and maybe have part of this segregated out as another position that does take that money.
Those
Shift it.
And those would be positions.
Yeah.
See, what it comes down to is, you know, the
Yeah.
43,000, or whatever it is, $44,000 is not a lot of money for full-time.
No.
Full-time, that works out to $20 an hour. But it's pretty good money if you're working 30 hours instead of 40 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's a motion
I'm
on the
more
table.
comfortable. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are you feeling better with that, Joel? As we
He's
move,
not feeling better.
as we're
about it.
moving her down the line. I know. I'm seeing it.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna live with it, but I'm not feeling good about it. Which motion are we doing with this? The preliminary budget?
The motion that I made was to approve
Budget.
option 2 with the changes from today as the preliminary budget for the public hearing. Period, that's it.
For the public.
That's it,
Well,
separated out,
period.
that's
And
it.
then we'll do the next one.
Yeah. And, who's seconding it?
Leslie.
Leslie
Oh, yeah, I
seconded.
did.
And now we've had some discussion.
So now we can vote. It's 5:15.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I can get my gardening done. Yeah.
Okay, Janice, the vote.
That my cue? All right, Connors,
Yes.
Hunter. Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
No.
Then I will also make the next motion that we have the public hearing on November 9th at 7.
I'll second that. Might we want to do any other business?
Oh, we have to vote on that?
No, this is discussion. I'm just wondering whether we need not limit ourselves to having a public hearing.
Oh, you mean on that meeting?
Yeah.
We don't have to vote on that now. We can have the public hearing and then we can vote it Monday. If we need another meeting, we can vote on it then.
I don't, I don't
That's
know.
What we
It's
need
like
to
we're
vote
gonna
on
have
now is a public hearing.
Right.
Are you feeling like there's gonna be something?
Well, I'm wondering whether we might be able to vote on the budget at that point.
No,
Yeah, we could vote on the
we
budget.
could,
then.
we
Only if you have a-
potentially,
Only if you have a meeting.
right,
That's what I'm saying, we might
right.
want to make it
So
a meeting.
there's
not
a
just-
public hearing
Not just
and
a
then
public
The public
hearing.
hearing and a meeting afterwards.
vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm thinking it might be good to say that it's going to be a public hearing and meeting.
Okay, I'll change the motion. I move that we, we have a public hearing on
And meeting to
November
follow.
9th,
Yeah,
followed by an official town board meeting.
and I second that, so.
One question before we move on, because we said that this would be at 7. Is that okay? Do us,
yeah.
Yeah,
seven.
yeah,
Seven
okay.
is still, okay.
Seven's good.
Sounds good,
Okay.
all right.
And that 9th is not a board meeting,
No, it
night,
isn't.
right?
Well, it is now,
It's in
It is
between
now.
it's not a regular board meeting,
CAC.
Special board meeting, yeah.
JC's on the 8th.
So, and that means we'll have the regular board meeting on Tuesday, the 1st, and then still the regular board meeting on the 16th.
Yes,
Correct.
The third Thursday, Wednesday, plus the public hearing and special meeting on the 9th.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, if we could, we'd have had it on the 16th, but we can't go back
Right,
to 10th,
right.
so do it on the 9th.
It's supposed to get warmer.
So the thing about that meeting afterwards is that if, depending on the public comment, we could adjust the budget.
Right, right. So I mean, maybe as soon as possible, we could get that. And I know that we've got a meeting before that, but right, that could go onto the website
Yes,
as a meeting and the agenda right there.
right,
So,
yes, I'll do that.
okay.
So you would have time if you wanted to discuss the budget in the special meeting on the 9th after the public hearing, and then you could vote on adopting the budget on the 16th, the following Wednesday. 'Cause
Exactly.
You need to adopt it by the 20th.
Oh, we have to vote on it.
We've gotten until November
20th.
20th to
Mhm.
adopt the
We
budget.
could, so if we can't make the decision on the 9th, we can.
Well, the thing is, like I
Make
said,
it-
we could adjust, we could adjust it after the public hearing if we want to.
Right, right.
Based on public comments, and then it'll be ready to go on the 16th. We could also adjust it
Well,
on the
it could
16th if
be-
we want to.
Well, it could be adjusted on the 9th and it's a little adjustment.
Voted on the
Vote.
9th.
We can vote on the
Right.
9th. So
Yeah, we
then
could do that too.
That's on the
Potential-
agenda. We can vote or not.
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, both are options.
Okay.
Okay.
Was that-
we-
We
ready
got
for
one
that vote?
Oh,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes,
Did you have enough water? I didn't touch that one.
You want it?
No, you drink it.
You can
You
have it.
finished this one.
You can have it.
No, you have it.
I'm good.
I want you to have it.
I want you to have it.
It's getting
My
warm.
husband and I, we never take the
I
last sip.
believe we have finished the business. of the
I have to
meeting.
say, it's been a pleasure working with everybody on this. This has been
We're
a
done, right?
challenge. This has been a challenge this year. It's been a pleasure.
Meeting adjourned.
Okay, gotcha. And now, I'm gonna tell you about another thing that we're looking at in the highway, just to tell you. We have heard that could be some diesel shortages coming
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I heard that too.
They had diesel shortages, so they're just looking into what it would be, how much it would be to either get another tank or rent another tank, so that we can keep some on reserve.
Yeah,
That, there's different things you can do
diesel and heating oil.
I also heard that
with
there was gonna be-
abrasives.
there was gonna be a shortage of, I overheard this conversation, mustard.
what?
I heard
Mustard.
ketchup was gonna go sky high. There's gonna be a shortage of mustard. I live on mustard. I have to get it.
I thought, oh my God, I want, I was like, what?
Oh, can we
You
put mustard in our
end the
trucks?
meeting, Janet.
Okay, thank you.
paying.